And we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gorgeous Growth Podcast, where we discuss strategies to take your brand to the top. I'm your host, Oscar Guerrero, and today I'm joined by AnneMarie Lorenzini, CEO of Untamed Artistry. AnneMarie has a background in product development, quality control, education, and salon ownership. She started in the beauty industry in 2007 and has been in the lash industry for about 10 years now. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Anne, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Oscar. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm really excited to be here, of course. I was just so taken back when you reached out and you were like, hey, you want to be on this podcast? I was so taken back. So thank you again. A little bit about myself. I've been in the beauty industry since 2007. I started kind of in like a salon as a receptionist, got into salon management. Then I ended up going to school for special effects and beauty makeup. While I was there in New York City studying this, I ended up meeting someone who was in the eyelash extension industry. Now, this is someone who was innovating the industry because the lash industry really only started in 2005. So it is a pretty new industry overall. So I met her and she said, one day you're going to work for our company. And I was like, okay, la la la. Like I was so young. Well, fast forward, I ended up getting an opportunity to work for her company in product development. And from there, I just expanded through a ton of different skill sets, really fell in love with the educational piece and the inner workings of a company. I ended up doing my own thing, my own educational programs, having my own salon and studio. And then now fast forward, I'm working with Untamed Artistry, starting as their managing director and now as their active CEO. So it's been a journey. I've just kind of flown through it. Just flowed through it and seen where life takes me. And it's been quite a blessing, to be honest.
Yeah, it sounds like it. That's awesome. So how did you get your start at Untamed Artistry?
So I believe the way I really got my start at Untamed Artistry is that at that time, I was doing a lot of online education and just education within my industry. So I was putting out a lot of information and content on my Instagram and on my website. And that caught the attention of our founder, Cheryl Pang. She was like, hey, you know a lot about adhesive and cyanoacrylates. I have questions for you. And then our friendship and professional working relationship just grew from there. She's like, can you come on? Can you teach my followers a bit about that? And so we just always had this mutual respect for what each other was doing and supported each other fully. From there, she ended up getting to a point of growth where she was reaching a point of burnout. She went really hard at her business in that first year. She had a ton of success. It's absolutely incredible, but she knew she needed help. So she reached out and she said, could you come in? Can you help me take this to the next level? And let's really hit all these different goals. And for me, I'm just trying to continue her vision and make her proud. So here I am.
That's awesome. So, I would say the first takeaway here is there's probably a lot of people out there, a lot of entrepreneurs out there. I feel like as an entrepreneur myself and talking to other entrepreneurs, we have the tendency to go real hard, like nonstop. And that really can cause burnout. Most of us have gone through burnout. And there's a lesson there. It's like, we also feel like we can't, no one can do it as well as we can do it. No one's going to love this as much as we do. And, you're kind of proof that that's not necessarily true. Like you can find someone to help you through this, right?
Absolutely. I think it's a huge misconception and there's a lot of layers to it that someone who is not the owner of a business can absolutely love your business as much, maybe even more than you, which seems wild to say. People can fall so in love with the vision of a company. I'm one of those people. Fell so in love with the Untamed Artistry brand, the team, the community, the vision, that I feel like it's my own baby. And yes, I am in the C-suite, so I should be taking it very serious, but it does feel like it's my baby. I cry over this baby like it's my own. I put in the work like it is my own. I think about financial decisions as if that is my bank account. And at the end of the day, it's really not. So I think you can find a group of like-minded individuals, and that's something really great that our founder Cheryl did. Is she's really good at bringing together a team that's full of passion, drive, giving them a chance, and even if they branch off and go into their own successes, you can tell that they loved what they were doing. Life just took them a different way, and it's a really beautiful thing. So our company culture might be a little out of the typical that you may find. I find that a little bit is just the fact that everyone is so passionate. Like they want to see the company succeed. They are bringing their best ideas forward. They're not just sitting there doing their like day in, day out job.
So what do you think is the driver there? Like what brings people to feel that way about a brand that they work for?
I think leadership for sure is a big part of it. And of course, there's the leadership and also what is the company's goal and mission? What are they trying to achieve? And as long as it's something that the person's like, oh, this is amazing. Like for us, like we're starting to really push forward on fair trade, sustainability being really big pillars of our company. So all of our team members are really aligned with that. Like they're so excited. The simple things, even in the office, they're like, oh, we can make this more sustainable. Like it's just kind of a core value that the team members share. So they found a company that has that. And then they have leadership and someone so inspiring like our founder that really can keep driving it forward and just making you feel like such a part. You're seen, you're heard, and you're appreciated. I think that makes a big difference.
That makes a huge difference. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And it's amazing. Like it's so long as the company has that core value, and then it sounds like you guys are actually bringing that to the community that you guys are serving as well, right?
Absolutely, yes.
So let's talk a little bit about the product. What about, so I know that these are eyelash extensions, but what makes them different?
Sure. So there are a lot of brands in eyelash extensions. I mean, there's a lot of brands, and it seems like every industry. And so what makes ours different is few things. From the beginning, our top selling product is our adhesive, which is a core application product for applying eyelash extensions. This is something Cheryl developed with chemists to get really good retention, something that's easy to use, and it's a really cool formula. So I think that that's unique in itself because she knew the struggle that stylists faced. It's part of the reason she started the brand was trying to find her own solution. She was like, I'm struggling with these products on the market. I need something that works better for me and that can be more reliable. So that in itself is our hero product for sure. Our eyelash extensions, those have a really cool fiber to them, a really neat taper, and then our packaging being completely recyclable and made with like eco-friendly processes is definitely a big benefit too. So you kind of have like a product that's a little bit different, a little bit more natural, a little softer looking. And then you have the part of reducing your waste in your studio. So we're trying to combine both elements together.
Okay, got it. Now, the distribution of the product, you guys, I noticed that you sell it online, right? So you kind of have, even though the model's actually kind of B2B because you're serving, licensed lash artists, you also, so you sell it online, but you also sell it in stores, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Would you mind sharing with us what percentage of the distribution is online versus in stores?
I would say the majority, over 90% is online at this time. We do have a couple stores that have been more established, but we're really just getting into that. We've brought on a ton of resellers so far this year. It's been incredible, and at the end of last year, but they're newer stores and they're just trying to get their footing. So for us, the majority of it is online and finding like, who do we want to resell our product? We need to find a professional location. It's not just selling to a consumer. We're looking for those professional lash artists and seeing who is going to take that inventory on, who has enough foot traffic for it. It's kind of a big thing to bring on, but it's been really successful for us very quickly, but still, we're really dominating more online at this time.
Awesome. That's great to hear. So let's talk a little bit about your growth. I mean, I understand that you guys went through exponential growth your first year. And I'm just curious, how did you find your consumers? Was it mostly on Google or was it social?
That first year was very social media, specifically Instagram and some Facebook. There is a Facebook community that we have, and that's been great because it brings other artists together who are just looking for help. So you start the community by them wanting to find other like-minded individuals, get help on their common application problems, and then you nurture those relationships and hope that one day they fall in love with your brand too and your products. But the biggest part was definitely on Instagram. And at that time when the brand started in November 2019, Instagram was huge for our industry. I know for a lot, but it was everyone in the lash industry. It was all about your online presence on Instagram. So it was a great opportunity, took advantage of that, made connections in that way. And then that is how one of the aspects of how Cheryl had that exponential growth within that first year.
Wow. Okay. So I noticed that you guys have over 30,000 followers on Instagram, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there who want to get to that level. Any advice on what they can do?
Sure. Well, what we try to do now is we try not to look at the follower account as much as like the analytics of the page. I think that that's kind of like a little bit of a shift. Is that's great. You can have 1 million followers, but how much like are you actually getting out of that? So we're looking more at those connections. We thrive in our stories and our DMs. That's where it's really, really hitting. And some posts, they do really well with likes and comments. Others are really dead, but the conversations are still going. And for us, we're trying to nurture those relationships. And I do foresee that that'll be a challenge as we continue to grow, because we are already being flooded with so many messages. It can be hard to keep up with them all. And we want to give that individual attention and that community feel. So that's one thing I would just say to anyone who's like, oh, I really want to get to those 30, 100,000 followers, to know that that doesn't equal your success. It's kind of just like a bragging right. So be a little kind on yourself about that. And then if you really want to get those followers for our industry, it's been providing value. So we provide a lot of free education. And at first that wasn't well received by a lot of people in the industry, because they're like, what? You're giving all this information out for free? Like, you need to charge for it. And we're like, this is kind of basic information. Let's help these stylists get better. So I think value on a page is really what's going to take you there.
Wow, that's awesome. Is there paid ads? Is that a component for you guys?
We've done some paid ads and they've been okay. We've had some that are successful, some that fall flat, some that we're like, oh, that was a bad idea. So we don't do a ton of paid ads at this time though, no.
Wow, that's amazing. It's amazing. So one of the principles that I find works really well with most of the brands that I talk to is basically like, one, when they find something, a solution, the product becomes a solution to a problem, right?
Right.
And you're normally part of the community that you're serving. So it's basically embedding yourself in the community and just helping the people with the product that you have. Would you agree that that's kind of like the best way to go about it?
Absolutely. 100%. It's, if you're not solving the problem, where's the value? There's probably the value leads to that. And then I definitely agree with that. I think that's a core, and a lot of people miss that. They get caught up in the aesthetic. They get caught up in, oh, I need to sell this product, that they forget, like, why are you selling it? What are you trying to help people with? And that's very easy at the core for our brand archetype, is to be there wanting to help people succeed and do better. So I love how you said that.
That's awesome. So this brand, I believe it started off bootstrapped. Is that correct?
It did, yes.
Wow. And have you guys done any fundraising? Do you plan on it, or you're not sure yet?
We're not sure yet. We haven't needed to. So unless we have some giant idea that we need to fundraise for, we probably won't. So we'll see though. I can't say never.
Right. So, you guys are a multi-million-dollar brand. I mean, where do you see yourself going? What changes do you think you have to make in order to get to the next level?
Some changes that we've already been implementing is just operationally. I talked to you a little bit about that one-on-one, is it's just operations have got to be clean when you're trying to grow. Otherwise, you're not really understanding your numbers. You can't look at your analytics properly. And once you're starting to dive into that, you start realizing cost-saving opportunities. You start realizing like areas that you have more potential for growth in. So I think that was like number one that we've really focused on. And as we continue to, it's going to be redistributing our earnings back in the right areas, figuring out what parts of marketing are we wanting to go with now. So we know Instagram took us to a certain point, and now we're wanting to do even more on Google. We're increasing our SEO ratings. We're doing an amazing job with that, but really figuring out where you want to put your profit. In the past, we put a lot of it in product development, but we don't want to fall flat on actual paid marketing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It makes total sense. And it sounds like, again, just from the conversations that I've had with people, it's always like building the business feels like you're putting, you've probably heard this, you're building an airplane while you're in the air because it's everything going on all at
So
once.
true. So true.
But you're right. Unless you get that stable and flying, it can crash. So I think that it sounds like you're doing an awesome job doing that. Could you tell us a little bit more about operations, hiring? How does that look like? What does that look like?
So right now we're a really slim team, and I know that that surprises a lot of people in our industry that we're as slim as we are, and we're also we're also all remote for the most part. So we are a Vancouver, Canada-based company, but I myself live in Texas. So it's a different type of challenge when everything is virtual. You think like, oh, it's great, there's so much flexibility, but sometimes there's things you just can't see. So company culture, it goes back to that for us with the hiring process in general is you need employees who are going to tell you what they're struggling with, who are self-aware, who are good to say like, hey, I'm struggling with this aspect that you might not be able to see through a screen. That happened just this week. An employee came to me with something she's like, I need help with. And I'm like, wow, I never would have known that. But had you been in the same office with me, I would have known right away. So when it comes to like hiring, we're looking for more like culture fit, of course, talent. And we're really working with a lot of contractors at this point. So instead of having a massive team like we had tried in year 2, who were all salary, now we're like, okay, we have a couple salary employees and almost everyone else is contract. This allows us to get better talent, top talent, that we could not afford a salary on at this point. So we're getting them in as consultants and then having other people do different types of the work, which has been unique. And I've actually really, really enjoyed it. At first, it was a shift, of course, because, those contractors you're bringing in who are consulting, they're not there to do a full-time job or work. So you have to switch your mind, I had to, on making that time I had with those consultants extremely efficient. That was a little harder. So, we got through that, and then now we have a good team of those who are implementing all the ideas, and that's kind of where we're at for now.
Wow. That's actually packed with a lot of useful information, because I think that a lot of people are mistaken. They're going to think that that all the hires have to be these full-time salaried employees. But it sounds like not only do you get value out of hiring contractors, but you mitigate your risks too, because now your upfront investment on hiring an employee is an expensive thing, right? And then having to get rid of them is also an expensive thing. So this sounds like it's a great mix, especially for a brand that doesn't need just all of those people.
Right. I mean, we have 2 people in particular who are just massive assets to the team in the contractor area. And their salaries, if we were to try to bring them on, there's no way that both of them being on the team would be under $300,000 a year. There's no way. But are we able to snag them for about $2,000 a month? Yes, that's pretty amazing. So I think that it also helps because people, if they love your brand, they're willing to work with you. They want to work with you. They want to see that brand grow, because here we go back to that same thing. They're passionate. They're like, this is a cool brand. I want to see you guys take off. Like, let me help you guys in the capacity I can within your budget. And so I think that's a pretty neat thing. And then you can give opportunities globally too. So we do have different contractors all over the world. And with us moving towards being 100% fair trade, and we got rid of vendors who were not fair trade, like we really did. And that hindered us in our growth for sure, because we just put our foot down, got rid of a bunch of products that were not ethically manufactured. We didn't know at the time. But, you can actually help others succeed, pay them a fair wage for their country, and give them new opportunities too. So it's just a different way of thinking. It does have its challenges, but I think it's really rewarding.
It does. I mean, that's amazing. I applaud you guys for that.
Thank you.
How do you share that with everyone, with the community? Do you have it on your packaging? Is it all over social? Is there a page on your website about this?
We do have a page about our sustainability journey, and it mentions it to a degree. We're not at that point where being 1,000% fair trade certified yet. There's a lot of elements of looking through every little part of your manufacturing process down to like the tiny piece of tape. So we're working through it. It is a goal of ours, but we talk about it a lot on our website. We've mentioned it a couple times on social, but we have not put it out there enough. And I feel like I want to share it more to just have people raise that question. I do find that sometimes consumers don't care. Ooh, that's like kind of a hot take, and I'm like hesitant to say it. Sometimes people don't care. And we know this because the fast fashion industry is so massive, and we know that that is not fair trade at all. It can't be at those prices. And there's all these different things that open up. And it's hard because there's the balance of caring or not caring versus like what you can afford to. So what we did that was also really crazy, I think, and probably be advised against from some people, is by doing this, that our cost went up, right? So ideally, you would just make your actual like end cost higher. We didn't do that. We kept the pricing the same, even with these initiatives. And I think that gave us like quite an edge in the industry, and it started raising questions like, hey, Untamed Artistry is able to be eco-friendly, to make these fair trade decisions and still sell a tray of lashes the same price or less than competitors. So we're really just trying to stir the pot a little bit, get people thinking, and hopefully move forward to a nicer future.
That sounds awesome. Honestly.
Thanks.
That really, yeah, it is because it goes beyond the product, right? It's not not just about the product, right? It's about the impact. And, it sounds to me like the company as a whole and the brand is making an impact. And I mean, the product's a great product. It solves a problem, but it even does something outside of that.
Oh, thank you. That's exactly the goal. Like you say it so eloquently. I need to interview you about Untamed Artistry.
Awesome. So any advice, any final advice that you could give people, budding entrepreneurs trying to get to where you guys are? They're probably very passionate about, their product. They found a solution. They went from ideation to actual production. Now they have a product in their hands and they're like, okay, I've got this. They want to get it out there. What would you tell them?
I like it. Go for it. Know that you're definitely going to make mistakes. You will likely hit a point of burnout. It's going to happen. But if you start to feel it happening to you, people are starting to tell you, pay attention to that. Get help. We talked about different opportunities for getting help with your business so that you're not having to invest as much into a salary so soon. I think that's good. And then run with it. Also, don't be afraid of people who think differently than you or who pick out flaws of your product. I know we don't want to hear it, but, it's something that I've learned along the way is just because I don't really jive with someone personally doesn't mean that we can't have a great working relationship and that they don't bring a ton of value. As long as it's from like a mutual place of respect. People who've had very different opinions than me or who I'm like, I don't know about this person, they have been the most beneficial in some of the business decisions that we've made.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Now, if people wanted to find out more about Untamed Artistry, where could they find out more about it?
Sure. So our website is probably the number one place to go for learning more about our sustainability and innovation journeys, which is www.untamedartistry.com. And if you want to see what we're creating on social media, how we're creating our community, that is Instagram at untamed.artistry.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all the great advice, and it was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Oscar.
Take care.